Good afternoon. Today is March 15th, 2022, and this is the voting session of the Ways and Means Committee. First, House Bill 172, and there are amendments. Delegate Lukey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As introduced, House Bill 172 would have restored the full union dues deduction that was eliminated by the Trump tax cuts a few years ago. It would also have included language that would have required filers to do an addition modification for any union busting related expenses. As a compromise version of the bill, the amendments take out the addition modification and narrow the bill to be the deduction for union dues up to $300 annually. So I move the amendments.
Is there a second? Any discussion on the amendments? Any discussion? Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Favorable. Second.
Any discussion?
Madam
Is there
Chair,
any-
this was a contested vote, so you might need to do a roll call on it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the motion is for favorable as amended. The Vice Chair,
Yes.
Delegate Attar,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Boatler,
No.
Delegate Branch,
Yes.
Delegate Buckle,
No.
Delegate Charles,
Yes.
Delegate Eversole,
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark,
Yes.
Delegate Griffith,
No.
Delegate Guyton,
Yes.
Delegate Hartman,
No.
Delegate Hornberger,
Yes on the tax cut.
Delegate Ivy,
Yes.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Lasanti,
Yes.
Delegate Long,
Yes.
Delegate Lukey,
Yes.
Delegate Plakovich Carr,
Yes.
Delegate Patterson. I think she had a bill here.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Delegate Rose,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to coordinate my bill hearing. Are we on 172?
yes.
No.
Okay. Delegate Wilkins.
Yes.
Bill passes favorably as amended. House Bill 660 has amendments. Is this the vice? Whose bill is this? Is this the vice chair?
Nope, it's Ebersol.
Oh. Eversole? Eversole, you're on mute.
Sorry, I lost my number for a second there. I thought you said 60. House Bill 660 creates a commission to study Maryland State Department of Education's Division of Rehabilitation Services, also known as DOORS. Commission was going to evaluate and make recommendations on the division's methods of serving students and its procedures for the organization. There is an amendment. The amendment removes members of the General Assembly from the commission. Move the amendment.
Second.
Is there a second? I'm sorry.
I heard Delegate
Second.
Barnes.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendments? Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, is there a need for a roll call? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. And the bill passes as favorable. Thank you. House Bill 664, and there are amendments. Delegate Eversole.
This bill requires childcare programs. We've had a bill like this in the past. It has been changed slightly so that the rotten Senate might actually pass something like it. This bill requires childcare programs to provide information on Maryland infants and toddlers programs to parents of each child under the age of 3 when they enroll, and to assist parents in contacting the agency if they so desire. The amendments are is that the State Department of Education must provide the child care programs with information so that they have it to give out. I move the amendment.
Second.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment? Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Yeah, I
So
move
moved.
favorable.
Second.
Hey, anyone like a roll call? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, thank you. Also, just to let everyone know, before we get to it, 1486, the last bill we're gonna vote on, does have amendments that were just emailed to you because they were just prepared. So Pat has sent them to everyone. Next, House Bill 850, and there are amendments. Delegate Ebersol. Ebersol, how many times are you gonna do this today?
I'm a little off my game, today. You know, baseball's starting and I got to go through spring training here. House Bill 850. This is a bill that we have seen for 2 years previous. This bill prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability in public schools and any non-public schools that receive state funds. Each school must print in the student handbook the policy of the state against discrimination. The bill lays out specific procedural process for complaint about discrimination, which involves the state superintendent attempting to mediate an agreement between the parties. And if that fails, reaching a decision on the complaint. Complaint may be appealed to an ALJ, administrative law judge. The amendments that we have clarify that institution in compliance with specific federal laws may not be considered to be discriminating based on a disability if they are unable to meet those conditions. Move the amendment, Madam Chair.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment, Delegate Buckle.
I think mine's probably more on the bill. Madam Chair, if you want to go ahead and vote the amendment.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, now discussion, Delegate Buckle.
So I have to admit, as Delegate Ebersol said, I know we've done this bill in prior years and I remember it more. Maybe I'm just better memory when we're live than when we're on Zoom. I remember it more from 2019 and some discussions about it. And in looking back at it, and I don't know if Delegate Ebersol or Delegate Wilkins, who's ever best suited to answer this, in the 2019 version, we had a provision that said with respect to discrimination claims on the basis of religion, that the subtitle didn't apply to religiously affiliated schools. So that if you had a school that was, for example, an Islamic center school, and they had certain things that they taught as central to their religion, it wouldn't be a discriminatory claim for them, to claim that they were somehow religiously discriminating against someone from a very different background that had, problems or that didn't sort of adhere to their general rules. And I guess it looks like in the existing bill that's gone. That looks like what we passed in 2019 had that language in there. So I was wondering about that. I'm just concerned. I don't want anybody to discriminate against anyone for any valid reason, but religious schools certainly exist for a reason. And it's difficult to say that they're religiously discriminating against students who are doing things that are completely outside the religious tenet of the school for which they were signed up to attend, if that makes sense in a roundabout way.
I'll let Delegate, with the chair's permission, I'll let Delegate Wilkins answer, but I will say that the one tenet we have is that they can't be required to teach about other religions in their school. But I don't think that's your question. So
no, see, that's strange. I mean, I went to, as you know, because I remember we did the bill, I went to a Catholic high school, although I'm not Catholic. And one thing I can tell you is Catholic high schools teach you an awful lot about other religions. I mean, you take a religion class all 4 years.
Nobody's going to stop them, but some don't want to.
Right. And I can see that. I don't think it's probably an archdiocese issue, but there may be other faiths that, have this concern that don't want to be brought up on religious discrimination claims.
So real quick again, Alistair, is that provision still in there that they can't be required to teach about other religions at their schools?
Yes.
Okay. So is that your question, Delegate Buckle? Or
No, I was just more wondering specifically why that language is different now than what it was in 2019. What's the rationale behind the bill that we passed in 2019 said the subtitle didn't apply essentially to religious discrimination claims against schools that were affiliated with a religious institution, because it would be a little circular. And why is that not there now?
So,
Madam Chair.
yeah, there you go.
Yes, Delegate Wilkins.
Thank you so much, Delegate Buckle, for the question. So we've had several iterations of this bill over the years, responding to various issues, climate and things like that. The 2019 bill, I can't speak to specifically why we had that one line in the bill from several years ago. However, what I can say is that having that line now is certainly something that we would not want to do, because what that does is completely exempt religious schools who receive state funding from our non-discrimination. This bill is intended to ensure that any school that is receiving state funds has an anti-discrimination policy and process in place. So for example, we're looking at is if you are a religious school and let's say you have a student who has two moms, and maybe a school wants to decline enrollment or punish that child in some way, that is discrimination. And to be using state funds to do so, that is something that would be problematic. We're not requiring the school to teach anything differently than they would be teaching. But when it comes to discrimination or punishment or things like that, based on any of the statuses that we've described, that's what the bill would include. And we do not want to completely exclude religious schools in that way.
And I don't want to do that either. I mean, exactly what you just said. I don't want anybody to be able to say, hey, you can't be enrolled here, or we kick you out because of a gender or a race or a sexuality issue of yourself, of your parents. I remember that now when you said that from the bill testimony from years ago. Rings more better when we were in person. No one wants to see that. I guess one of my concerns was just, let's say you have a Jewish school that, you know, people are specifically electing to send people there so that they're getting instruction in the Talmud and in other faith aspects of it. And someone goes to the school who's, you know, Protestant or atheist or whatever it may be, and says, hey, maybe atheist isn't a good example because they couldn't be perhaps religiously discriminated against. But someone goes that they're Baptist and they say, hey, guess what? I'm not going to any of your religious teaching stuff. Like, I'm not participating in any of that. You can't grade me on it. You can't, it can't affect my scholastics here at all. And if the school, the religiously affiliated school says, well, that's part of our program, that's why people go here, you have to participate that in some way, or else, you probably really shouldn't be a student here. Would that student and their parent then be able theoretically to say, we're going to sue you and say you discriminated against us because our religion isn't the same as yours and we don't adhere to the scholastic elements of the test? Or some places give, I can tell you for archdiocesan schools, I paid more for my daughter to go when she went than what my friends did who were Catholic paid for their kids because they were Catholic, and they got a credit for if you contributed to the archdiocese or to your local parish with tithing or whatever you want to call it. There was a formula that reduced your tuition.
So you've asked two different questions. Slow down here.
Yeah, it's two different questions. But
you got two different questions going. Which one do you want us to address?
Take
the instruction thing.
off,
I should tell you, public schools teach religion classes. Okay, they teach classes that are taught in religion. So I don't really see that as an issue here. If it's an academic course that's being taught in the school, then I think the school is within its rights to offer that and offer which ones they want in that particular case. That's your first question. Your second question, you're moving on a bit. So do you want to?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I think the end result will be the same. But the second question is, does this in any way affect people saying, hey, I'm paying more to go to this private school because I'm not of the faith that it's aligned with, or I don't contribute to the faith that it's aligned with through traditional church giving, and my next door neighbor who is, they pay less, and as a result, I'm being discriminated against on the basis of my religion?
I'm going to defer to the sponsor on this because we've had a conversation, but she's talked to some of the advocates.
Sure, Delegate, we did consider that as it was raised, but we just don't have any evidence that would be considered to be discrimination. That's an existing policy or a future policy that's outlined on providing a sort of a benefit in terms of someone who is of that faith or of that congregation, that, maybe you get a $500 discount on your tuition or something like that. In terms of that being viewed as some type of discrimination, I think that that's outside of what this bill does. We're not changing practices of religious institutions. What we're saying is when it comes to the students and the parents in a school, that it is a policy of the state, and it must be a policy that's written out by the school to not discriminate.
Thank you for that explanation.
Delegate Long.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Will this have any effect on ADA regulations or compliance for some of
Okay.
our schools?
So there's a trap door on that one in the bill that says if there's a school that can't comply because of the physical structure of the building, or if they really would just be unable to accommodate, they can say they cannot help that particular disabled student. And I don't know, and we could check with Alistair or the bill drafter or the bill sponsor, excuse me, if there's specific things they have to do to get that. But I think generally they can, if we have an old building that's being used by a private school, they can say we would have to do major structural changes to our building.
The
Okay.
amendment specifically addresses, it says that if you are, for the basis of discriminations that are based on disability, as long as you follow the ADA, you will be okay. And you will not be discriminating based on disability. So any provisions in the ADA that prevent that, if you're required to, or if you're not required to update because of the historic nature of your building or something like that, you will be fine.
But you said this was going to supersede federal, correct?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Delegate Attar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I discussed this with the sponsor in great length, but based off of Delegate Buckle's questions and the responses, I have a couple more questions around it. My understanding from the way the 2019 bill was written, it would be that if a Jewish school does not necessarily want to accept a Catholic student based off of their teachings and things like that, they can't, under this bill, say, no, we can't accept you because religion is protected. But if a Jewish school says, we're not going to accept you because you have two mothers, under the 2019 bill, my understanding is that is still discrimination because it falls under the other protected categories. Am I understanding that correctly? Did I explain that right?
It does, if I understand your question, and I'll let somebody else take a stab at it if I missed it, but it does prevent discrimination against adults who are associated with the children. So if you had, two mothers or two fathers, for example, they couldn't say, yeah, we won't let that child in. Or, there's the classic story of the school. I don't know if it's true, that denied mother-daughter tea to both mothers because they wouldn't allow both mothers to come. This would be discrimination against the parents or the adults, and that would not be allowed if they're accepting state funds.
Okay, so that part I have no issue with. My concern then comes to, does a Catholic school, if a Catholic school doesn't want to accept a Jewish student, under the way the bill is written now, that is considered discrimination, but the way it was written in 2019, it is not. Is that correct?
I don't have the 2019 bill in front of me, but I carried that bill and I felt like that Alistair, I'll let you lay in on that because you're texting me about some of the differences between 2019. I believe that was the intent, and I thought it was the language of the 2019 bill as well.
Alistair, do you want to chime in?
Sure, that was correct in the 2019 bill. The 2019 bill was different in a lot of ways than this bill. This sets out a due process, procedural process that is with the State Department of Education and the state superintendent. And the 2019 bill set out a different process that was under the Department of Human Services. But it is correct that under the current bill, discrimination on the basis of religion, which could include discrimination on the basis of your belonging to the Jewish faith, could lead to your being in violation of this. However, this only applies to certain schools, those that accept state funds. So if you were such a school and you did not want to accept Jewish students, you would be able to, you just would not be able to also accept state funds.
Okay, so that's the only part that I'm concerned about. The rest of it, I understand all the other protected classes, but that's the part that I was wondering about. Okay, thank you.
Delegate Lasanti.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the spirit of the bill and I support the spirit of the bill, but in talking to various private and religious schools, they have raised some concerns, and I want to try to walk through it just a little bit. The issue of refusing enrollment, expelling a student, or more importantly, disciplining a student, and how that relates back to discrimination. The concern that I've heard from a lot of these schools is, without a tightening up of those definitions, could somebody say that I was disciplined or my child was disciplined in a school because of maybe because of one of the protected classes?
Yeah, somebody can always say that.
But are we opening? The concern is that we're opening that up.
No, we're not opening it up. We're allowing for a complaint process there, and there's it's pretty well spelled out. I mean, if somebody feels like that's happened to them, they have to be able to say they think that's the reason. Whether or not they're correct will be determined by the process we described. The superintendent gets involved and tries to mediate, and then will render a decision. But if the decision is not acceptable, then it can be carried on to an administrative law judge.
But that right to challenge, isn't that right to challenge already exist in law?
Well, no, we don't specifically prohibit this kind of discrimination at this level right now. That's why we need this bill, is because there are schools that we've shown, you've seen it in some of the testimony in the past, that actually have in their webpage that there are certain kinds. We don't believe in this, and therefore we can't admit students who are like this. And they'll pick something out. It often has to do with homosexuality, but it's not exclusively that.
So at the end of the day, a school that wanted to have that as their policy per se, they could continue to do that if they didn't accept public funds. And that's
correct.
That's
one of the reasons it's relevant.
That's the real piece here, is the nexus between public funds and this and the regulations are under the law.
We're going to see a greater disbursement of state funds with the mixed delivery system in pre-K.
Okay.
So it's particularly relevant there.
Understand. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion, I should say? Okay.
I think we moved the bill, but I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I think we did, yes. So
Okay.
I will do a roll call. 1 second. Okay, so the motion is favorable as amended. The vice chair.
Yes, and me too.
Am I missing something? We didn't do the roll call.
I'm doing the roll call now, Haley.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
And the vice chair points out this bill has amendments. So if somebody wants to Me Too themselves here, they can.
Okay. Delegate Attar.
Yes.
You blinked out a little there. Or maybe
Delegate
me.
Barnes.
Yes.
Delegate Boatler.
No.
Delegate Branch.
Yes.
Delegate Buckle.
No.
Delegate Charles.
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol.
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark.
Yes, and me too, please.
Delegate Griffith.
No.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Hartman.
No.
Delegate Hornberger.
No.
Delegate Ivy.
Yes, and please add me to the bill.
Delegate Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Lasanti.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
No.
Delegate Lukey.
Yes.
Delegate Plakovich Carr.
Yes, and please add me.
Delegate Patterson.
Yes, me too.
Delegate Rose.
No.
Delegate, Wilkins.
Yes.
I was going to say, you don't need a me too. And the chair votes yes, and me too. Okay, that bill is out of here. The last bill, House Bill 1486, and there are some proposed amendments. Delegate Lukey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The subcommittee voted unanimously to bring out HB 1486 with amendments. The amendments should have been sent to everybody's inbox a little while ago. And essentially what they do is they operationalize this bill in such a way that the impact of the gas tax holiday will be felt on day one and continue for exactly 30 days. And the way they do that is by requiring the comptroller's office to provide a rebate on taxes paid in the gallonage in the tanks at a gas station at the time this goes into effect. And then any gas that's left in people's tanks at the end of the 30-day period, they have to then go back and pay taxes on. There's also an enforcement provision in the bill, which allows in case of a situation where a retailer fails to accurately report that gallonage, the comptroller's office would have the ability to suspend the business or sales and use tax license just to make sure people are accurately reporting. So that adds a little bit of an enforcement mechanism to the bill. And I will move the amendments.
Second. Okay, is there a discussion on the amendments? Delegate Lasanti.
Delegate Lukey, did I hear you say that if they had unused gas in their gas tank after the 30 days, they would have to go back to the gas pump?
No, we're talking about the retailer. So
oh,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you for
gas in the retailer's tank. So at the end of the 30-day period, if they haven't paid tax, so it's a mechanism that prevents hoarding of untaxed gasoline, essentially.
You talk faster than I listen sometimes. And it was just,
my fault. It should have been more clear.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Delegate Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was trying to do two things at once, so I apologize. Are these all the amendments?
These are all the amendments that were adopted by the subcommittee.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendments? Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Second.
Is there a discussion on the bill as amended? Delegate Griffith.
I'll defer to Delegate Hornberger if I can. I have a question after Delegate Hornberger does. I'm sorry.
Delegate Hornberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd ask if the committee could adopt the amendments, and then I'd like to offer an additional amendment before we move the bill.
Okay. Would we like to do a roll call on the amendments? Yes.
On the amendments from the subcommittee,
Yes.
I don't think we need that.
Okay. All in favor of the amendments passed by the subcommittee, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Okay, so the subcommittee's amendments have been adopted. Delegate Hornberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. Not being on the subcommittee, I definitely applaud the efforts that have gone into this and the quick turnaround. However, with the situation in Ukraine and us adjourning in a little bit less than a month, I feel that we would be behooved to extend this credit for additional time as we are not able to come back and relief is not on the horizon. So I do have an amendment before the committee here. And just to make reference, the amendment number is 1486-193-126-1, should be in your inbox. And all this amendment does, very straightforward, is it takes that awesome language that the subcommittee came up with and it moves the 30 days to 90 days. So I'd ask for a favorable from the committee on that. Thank you.
So is there a motion on that amendment? Are you moving your amendment, Delegate Hornberger?
Yes, pressing the amendment. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the amendment, Delegate Lukey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd ask the committee to resist the amendment. I appreciate the sponsor of the amendment and his intent. But look, anytime we have any bill, there's always going to be an argument for it should be more, whether it's a tax cut, whether it's a new program that should have more funding. Our challenge as legislators is to find the right fit and the right balance. I think in this bill at 30 days, we have found that right fit. We over the next 30 days, will be relieving Maryland families of the gas tax and giving time for federal action to shake out, and giving time for the private sector, oil producers, to ramp up production. And in fact, over the last few days, we've already seen a significant decrease in the per barrel price of oil on the international market, from over $130 a barrel to under $100 a barrel. So the idea behind this bill is to be a bridge for Maryland consumers over the next 30 days. I'd also add that the 30-day number was a number that was mutually arrived at by the governor, the Senate, and the House. So this was negotiated on a bipartisan basis. I think we'll be able to pass the 30 days on a bipartisan basis. I'd ask the committee to resist this amendment.
You, Delegate Hartman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first of all want to thank the committee for the work they did on the original amendments for rectifying that. But I speak in favor of this one, and I'm looking at the screen here. It's kind of nice when everyone's photos together, and I'm seeing so many faces that were in a room where Kiefer from the governor's office was there, and it was clear there was a huge desire on both sides of the aisle for 90 days. So I really hope that we can find consensus on that and do something meaningful. I mean, 30 days, I can tell you, my son's a fireman, and he tells me he's spending about a quarter of his pay right now in fuel and gas. And it's hurting, the people that we really need to help. I mean, people that are doing these, not very well paying civil jobs, but very meaningful for our community. And we just really need to do this for the people in Maryland. So thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Long.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to press the issue also. Given what's happening right now with the price of oil, I don't think 30 days is long enough. In my district, people are struggling from day to day. People are making a choice. Do they go to the grocery store, or it's a big struggle. And I think 90 days would be a whole lot better. And hopefully in those 90 days that we will be back to somewhat sanity with gas prices. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the proposed amendment? Okay, seeing none, I will do a roll call on Delegate Hornberger's proposed amendment. Vice Chair.
No.
Delegate Attar.
No.
Delegate Barnes.
No.
Delegate Boatler.
Yes.
Delegate Branch.
No.
Delegate Buckle.
Yes.
Delegate Charles.
No.
Delegate Ebersol.
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark.
No.
Delegate Griffith.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Hartman.
Of course, yes.
Delegate Hornberger.
Yes.
Delegate Ivy.
No.
Delegate Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Lasanti.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Ludke.
No.
Delegate Plakovich Carr.
No.
Delegate Patterson.
No.
Delegate Rose.
Yes.
Delegate Wilkins.
No.
The chair votes no. The motion fails.
What was the vote, Madam Chair? I can't keep up quick enough.
12 to 11.
12 to 11 with the chair voting. Thank you.
Close.
Next, discussion on the bill as amended. Before I do a roll call, Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was about amending on co-sponsors. Looking at the bill online, there's 79 members, the majority party, who had an opportunity to co-sponsor it. I know No members of the minority party got to sponsor it. Obviously, the members of the committee will have that opportunity as there are amendments. And I know this is unusual, and I just don't know if there's a procedure in place where on the floor on second reader, if other members of the minority party who do not have an opportunity to co-sponsor would have an opportunity to submit amendments, or if there was a way that we could find a mechanism to submit one amendment on the floor with all the members of the minority party who would like to co-sponsor on second reader.
So I don't think so on the floor. I think maybe if folks in this committee want to do it, then that would be.
I don't want to do anything to hold up the bill at all, you know,
Okay.
Obviously.
Delegate, the vice chair, is your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, there is a possibility if there was amendment made, that's a floor amendment with only sponsors on it, adding sponsors, you could probably do it that way if the committee wanted to accept it, but I'll turn it over to the majority leader.
I was just going to say, we've generally made it a practice not to do floor sponsor amendments, because once we do, you know, that'll be every bill, and slow down the work of the House. So, you know, I'm happy to talk to people, Delegate, but, you know, I don't know how that's going to be viewed, frankly, by the Speaker.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the bill? Okay, I will do a roll call on the favorable as amended with the subcommittee amendments. The vice chair,
Yes.
Delegate Attar,
Yes.
Delegate Barnes,
Yes.
Delegate Boatler,
Yes, and can I do a me too then?
yes. Delegate Branch,
Yes.
Delegate Buckle,
Yes, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor if possible.
yes. Delegate Charles,
Yes, me too.
Delegate Ebersol,
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark,
Yes.
Delegate Griffith,
Yes, me too, please.
Delegate Guyton,
Yes.
Delegate Hartman,
Yes, and add me too, please.
Delegate Hornberger,
Yes, and co-sponsor, please.
Delegate Ivy,
Yes, and I am already a co-sponsor.
Delegate Jones,
Yes.
Delegate Lasanti,
Yes.
Delegate Long,
Yes, and I'd like to be a co-sponsor also.
Delegate Ludke,
Yes.
Delegate Plavkovich Carr is excused, Delegate Patterson,
Yes.
Delegate Rose,
Yes, please add me as a co-sponsor.
and Delegate Wilkins.
Yes.
Okay, and the bill is out of here. And so to be clear, folks on this committee can be co-sponsors, but we're not adding folks on the floor. Delegate Rose, your hand's up, was that? Okay, Delegate Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since I had to step out for my bill hearings, can I be recorded in as yes for 660 and 664, please?
64 in the yes, okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, that concludes the vote session of the Ways and Means Committee today. Are there any announcements by subcommittee chairs? Vice
Madam-
Chair?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Education Subcommittee will meet right after this meeting.
Delegate Patterson?
Ways and Means, sorry. Ways and Gaming of Ways and Means. We'll meet right after this as well.
Okay, any other announcements?
Local revenues, get ready to saddle up tomorrow, right after bill hearings.
So we don't have bill hearings tomorrow.
Oh, good.
So after the floor, it's my understanding Delegate Wilkins Subcommittee is meeting. Is that correct? Right after floor. So Delegate Barnes, do you want to?
Yeah, we'll meet right after Delegate Wilkins.
Okay. And we are going to likely vote tomorrow after that. And I'm trying to find time for the subcommittee chairs to get together. So just stay tuned for that. Delegate Rose?
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear, since I'm on both, we're gonna do education first and then racing and gaming.
Yes, I text my colleague, Chair Patterson, to see if we can meet for 15 minutes and then the racing and gaming. Thank you.
Okay.
Del.
Thank you.
4:30, does that work?
4:30 for racing and game.
Get ready to race and game.
Delegate Eversole.
So early childhood's delaying. I said 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, but we have 2 Harford County delegates and they meet, but they assure me they'll be done by 9:15. So early childhood's going to meet at 9:15 a.m. and we're gonna move those bills quick. We'll be done by session.
If your delegation hasn't moved your bill by crossover week, it's already dead, man.
No, yeah, I said, okay, never mind.
Okay, any other announcements? Okay, thank you guys.